All right, we are live. All right, welcome, Megan. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good. I actually had a really good workout today, but
Oh,
tomorrow's my run. So I'm supposed to be doing like a 10K, but I don't think I want to make it that far. I'll explain more later. But thank you so much for being on and joining me. I really wanted you to just jump on and kind of tell your story because it's an amazing story. But before we go into that, I kind of wanted to let everyone know how we met. So just kind of give everyone's kind of background. Um, we actually met through Aravaipa running group. Is that what that is?
yeah.
Okay, good. Didn't know much about it because it was actually my boyfriend who's actually in the room with us to pipe in if he's got any questions, but he's off to the side. Um, he's the one that I think you met first, and then I jumped on, and that's kind of how I met Megan. And Aravaipa Running Group is a local, I think, to the state, not just necessarily to Phoenix, right? But they do a lot of local runs. Is that right?
Right, right.
Okay. But they
So,
haven't been. Oh, go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
Wednesday nights we typically have a group run, but because of COVID, they had to stop those. And so somebody, Justin Grady, decided that he still wanted to do the social part. So he took it upon himself and set up Zoom calls every Wednesday. And so it's been great to see everybody.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like Justin. He yeah, he's got a German short haired pointer, which I used to have one. So my little heart goes right there with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of how we met. So let's go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, what do you do, give me a little bit of background on you.
Right. So I'm originally from Wyoming. I have 4 degrees actually. Um,
Nice.
so I have two bachelors and a master's degree. I'm a chemist by training and worked in Wyoming for a couple of years and decided to have an adventure and went off to California for a few years. Then I was transferred to North Carolina.
Wow, big change.
Was there for a few years, and they were going to send me back to California, and I said no, thank you, and decided to go get my PhD. So I went to West Virginia University, and after I graduated, well, before I graduated, got a job at Arizona State University and finished up and defended and everything, and came out here and have been here ever since. At Arizona State University, I am a research scientist
Nice.
and
So
I
what's your PhD in?
analytical chemistry.
Nice. Okay, so I'm working on my second master's right now, and I'm in data. What is it? It's basically data analyst. I thought it was really a statistics research course, and it's not. So I did a statistics research in my last master's, and I did great at it. This data class is just like blowing my mind right now.
Oh, so is it a lot of like bioinformatics?
It's right now we're really learning. Was it Tableau? It's just basically taking the data, how to get it into um, like bar graphs and scatter plots and all this, and how to analyze
Oh,
it basically is where we're at on that one. And my head is just like like big time.
yeah. So different ways to visualize the data.
Yes, is what so far we're just finished week 3. We have 4 weeks left, so that's where we're at right now on that one. So interesting. Nice. Okay, so go back. What do you do at ASU?
So right now I work in the mass spec core, and I get to help other people do their research. And
Nice.
I absolutely love it because I get to work on all sorts of different things. I get to work with the students, train them on our instruments. So it's a lot of fun.
Nice. All right. Interesting. All right. You mentioned something to me about you were an avid hiker and you hiked part of the AP trail, the Appalachian Trail.
Evolution drill, yeah. Um, so yeah, I hiked for many, many years. Starting when I was a Girl Scout,
Yeah.
and just absolutely loved being out in nature and running around doing that sort of thing. Um, and while I was in grad school, I decided, well, I'm over here by the Appalachian Trail. And somebody had told me, yeah, Maryland's totally doable in a weekend. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that.
On a weekend? Okay.
That was my first backpacking trip. And I went by myself. And
Nice.
everyone's like, oh my God, make sure you text me. You're going to be, I'm so worried about you. I'll be fine. And I was. So
So was it one overnighter or two? 2 nights.
was 4 days and 3 nights.
Okay, nice. How many miles?
It was 42, I think.
42 miles. Nice. Wow. So what
So
was that like?
it was a lot of fun. Just meeting all sorts of people.
Yeah.
I did it over Labor Day weekend, so there were a lot of people out.
Okay.
You know, day hikers and then weekend backpackers, and met a couple through hikers.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and got to walk through some of the battlegrounds for the Civil War.
Yeah.
I can't remember the names of them offhand, but there were plaques and stuff that you could read, and just learn about the history of the area, which was really cool. Coming from the West,
Yeah.
being able to go out and experience that history.
Was it humid? Was it
Oh
hot?
yeah.
What was the weather like?
Um, so the weekend that I went, there was a remnant of a hurricane that was off the coast. So yeah, it was. I mean, it's humid back east anyway. I think it was worse. Um, but at least, out there on the Appalachian Trail, you're in what they call the green tunnel. It's, just foliage all over.
Okay.
And so it's, pretty shady. So at least you don't have the sun and the humidity.
Nice. Yeah, I did some backpacking in Arizona, mostly just overnighters because there's not a lot of water.
Yeah.
So you always have to carry your own water. And then I moved up to Washington and I tried to we did part of the Pacific Crest Trail. We tried to do 2 nights and we're coming down and it was starting to get a little bit humid, but we happened to do the section where there was a bunch of like ponds and lakes and the
Oh,
mosquitoes were so horrible. It was like it was nuts. And day two, we're like, no, we're just gonna hoof it out of this, and we just like power walked it out, ran out of mosquito spray. I'm spraying the dog at the same time to get the mosquitoes off of her. But then as soon as I spray her, she's in the water because it's a lab, right? So
oh, yeah.
it was nuts. Yeah, I still haven't done anything more than just one night, overnight so far. Dave and I want to do some in Arizona, but we can't really we have a new dog that drinks a
Oh,
lot of water, but it's like, how do we carry all the water? There's not enough water sources here, like compared to, yeah. So I don't know. So I'm not sure if we're going to do that or not. We'll see.
yeah. I would like to do the Arizona Trail, but like you, I worry about the water and being able to make it to the next water source.
Yeah, because it's like Washington, you kind of take it for granted. I don't think you really think about it. You're just so used to, you're going to run into water. Here, you have to be like really strategic with that.
Right. Yeah.
So, but that's awesome. I always backpacked with somebody, but I was like, okay, I need to prove to myself I can do this by myself because I tend to watch a lot of horror movies. So I tend to freak myself out at night, especially in the woods. Very easily. So I did part of, where did I go? It was off of it was just east of Seattle, I think, in that area. No, where did I go? I don't remember where I went. Somewhere in Washington. So I took the dog with me We went and find this little cove. It was nice. She was playing in the water. The fog was starting to roll in like a horror movie, right? So the fog's rolling in. I'm like, okay, this is starting to get freaky. And then these two guys come up, and I'm like, okay, where's my knife? I'm all getting ready to fight, right? And then they go camp. I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then I'm like trying to get her out of the water. I'm like getting ready for bed. We're got to get into the tent. It's a one-man tent, and this lab is like 70 pounds, right? So we both get in the tent. And then I wake up a couple of times throughout the night hearing noises. And my first thought is like bears, right? Because, you know, Washington has both, they have what, black and, or brown and, yeah, they have brown and both brown and black. So every time I heard a noise, the first thing I do would look at the dog. If she didn't stir, I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
And I go back to sleep. So I used her as my alarm system. I was like, okay, I'm good. I don't know if I could have done that without a dog. That's crazy. I love how you did it though. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I knew there was going to be a lot of people around. So
Yeah.
even though I was alone or, by myself hiking, I wasn't going to be alone.
Yeah.
So.
So nice. Okay. So sorry. I have my boyfriend's in the room kind of listening in, and so he's got some questions. He pipes in once in a while. So that's why if you hear me, he wanna so yeah, so Dave is here. All right. So back to you. When did you start running? Because I know that's been a current thing. Because I didn't mention earlier, is when we met, then I got connected with Megan on Strava. So I've been kind of watching what she's done and how she's progressed. I get excited when I see your stuff roll by because I'm like, oh, look what she did. Okay, so when did you start running?
I started running for fitness probably 10 years ago or more. Just go to the gym, do my weightlifting, and then run on the treadmill for like 20 minutes, half hour, whatever. Yeah. Did a couple 5Ks, but I don't think I really ran until probably just before I moved out here. Was when I kind of got into trail running. So in preparation to do my Appalachian Trail trip, I was watching videos on YouTube and the Run Steep, Get High videos.
Yes.
Came into my feed. And for those of you who don't know, Run Steep, Get High is Jamil Curry's kind of outdoor brand. And he is the owner of Aravaipa Running.
And Aravaipa, for you guys to also know, Aravaipa does they're up to, I think, 50 some races a year. Well, before COVID, but they run a bunch of races here in the U.S. in Arizona, and I think they're starting to progress to Colorado. I want to say, I think, but he's huge here in Arizona.
Yeah, and they do a lot of virtual races now, and I imagine after COVID, they will continue doing that. So there is an opportunity to participate.
Yes,
and they're a great company. They put on great events.
Yes.
If you get an opportunity, check them out.
Yes, it was crazy. Dave did the Javelina. Was it not last year or the year before? 2018. That was crazy. If you guys have never heard of the Javelina and you guys like to do long distances, you need to check out the Javelina race. It was completely crazy and fun. But anyways. Nice. So you have, what are some of your running goals you have?
So I want to run a 50K.
Yes.
And
nice.
The goal was to do it this December, but then I got sick and COVID and all that. So that has tentatively been pushed to next year. Next year or early 2022. So.
Yes. Well, let me know if you need crew. I will totally help you with that one. My running has kind of gotten downhill, so I wouldn't be the greatest pacer, but I can definitely crew. I'm getting really good at crewing. So if you need crew, you definitely let me know because that's completely awesome. I did my first 50K last year, and it was amazing, but tiring at the same time. It was weird. I checked it off my list. I did it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like I just want to do it just to say I've done it, and then
Hmm.
we'll see how I feel when I'm done. I
Yes.
mean, kind of the joke is you finish it and then you're like, I am never doing that again. And then a few days later, you're like, what's the next 50K coming up?
Yes. So a little quick side story. I said those exact words after my first half marathon, and I ended up training for a marathon and running one like 4 months later. So yes, that does say happen a lot. Okay, but let's go back. You mentioned you were sick. So that was the main reason I like to have you on, because I think this is an amazing story of what you've gone through and how you're overcoming everything. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, thinking back, there were definitely little clues many years ago as to the fact that I had a brain tumor. Um, so I had a boss about 7, 8 years ago make the comment, "Oh, your handwriting's kind of gone downhill." And I thought, well, I'm typing more, so yeah, of course it's gone downhill. Um, and then, like when I was in grad school, I had terrible anxiety, um, and I
Yeah.
just chalked it up to the stress.
Yeah.
Um, I also started talking in my sleep, and then like I would yell myself awake from time to time. And again, I just chalk it up to stress. Um, and then about a year ago, um, I was having some double vision. And at first I could blink it away. And, I looked at, what are some causes of double vision. And one of the causes was dry eye. And I thought, well, okay, I'm outside running a lot. It's still pretty hot. My allergies are kind of acting up. Like, dry eye is a real possibility here. So I made an appointment with my eye doctor. I needed to get my eyes checked anyway. And, he looked at my eyes and like, well, there's nothing wrong with your eyes. Um, you're getting to that age where bifocals and reading glasses are in your near future. And I
Oh,
thought,
wow.
okay,
Okay.
so it was just kind of making sense. I bought some readers, and that helped for a while. And then a couple months later, I had pink eye from my allergies, and my primary care doctor prescribed antifungal, antibacterial. Of course, that didn't do anything. Got into an ophthalmologist, and she prescribed me steroids.
Mm-hmm.
And the first 2 days were fine. The pink eye was starting to clear up. And then the third day, I had double vision that would not go away.
Oh, wow.
And of course, this is the Sunday before Christmas.
Of course. Ouch. Okay.
So, like, I'm not getting into the doctor anytime soon. And it's not enough of an emergency that, I'm going to go in.
Yeah.
So, finally got in to see the doctor again. And she looked at my eyes and goes, well, yeah, they're not tracking together. Let me refer you to a specialist. The best doctors to deal with strabismus, which is
Mm-hmm.
the medical term for them not tracking together. They're pediatric doctors because they deal with it all the time.
Okay.
And
Interesting. Okay.
so she referred me to him. This was in January, and I couldn't get in until May.
Oh, wow.
And there was just no way I was going to wait until May.
Yeah.
Um, I fortunately have a uh, childhood friend who's an ophthalmologist in Chandler. And so
Nice.
I sent her practice an email, and I got in like a couple days later, and she looked at my eyes and she goes, well, I think you have an autoimmune. Okay. So she referred me to another specialty ophthalmologist who like stealing in complicated cases.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
he, it was so funny. I went to his office and he did some tests, and then he'd go and consult with his partner, come back some more and do some more tests with me, like, look up, look down, look over here, all that. Go consult, come back. Just went on a couple times, and then it's finally like, yeah, I think you do have an autoimmune. I'm going to refer you to a neurologist.
Okay.
Uh, so I got into the neurologist like within a week. And he went through the same battery of tests and like, yeah, I agree with him. This does look like an autoimmune. Let's get some other tests done just to be sure. So some of them were blood tests that could
Yeah.
only be done at Mayo because they have the special equipment to do it.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
and then another one was an MRI, just to make sure nothing was going on. February 27th, I go in to get my MRI, and no big deal. Chatting with the tech, and like, oh yeah, now I know what NMR samples feel like.
Yeah.
um, and after I got done, he's like, okay, why don't you get dressed and go wait out in the lobby, and we'll get you your CD of your results. Okay. So I'm waiting, and I get a call from the neurologist office. You have a brain tumor.
Wow.
Go directly to the hospital. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Oh, wow.
I was just like, what? I have to go to work. Like, can we do this Tuesday? it, it was
It's
just,
surreal. I mean,
yeah,
it would be hard to process. Be like, what are you talking about? I feel what? I don't, So
yeah.
what was it like? I mean, how long did it take before it really kind of sunk in that you had a brain tumor?
Honestly, it wasn't until I was at the hospital and 4 hours later when I saw the MRI image.
Yeah.
And what it was a tumor the size of a key lime, or, a
Yeah.
smallish egg,
That's
basically.
huge though. You only
Yes,
got so much space. Like,
yeah,
okay.
right on top of my brainstem. And it was blocking the fluid, the cerebral fluid, from draining from my head. So I had a bunch of fluid build up in my head. And the neurologist on call, she had seen these images before I did, and she was surprised. She's like, is this person conscious? So, like, I'm walking in, I'm joking with her, and she's just like, she showed me the image, and that was just like, holy shit.
No
It's like,
kidding. No shit.
okay, let's get this thing out of me. How
Oh,
are we
wow.
gonna do this? Let's
So
do
it
this.
was okay. So February 27th. Okay. So February 27th of this year. So
Yeah.
you've been kind of having some symptoms for like 7 years that thinking back, you're like, well, that makes sense now, right? So it's been about
Oh yeah.
7 years that after thinking back, like, hindsight.
Yeah.
So you finally get figured out on February 27th. When did you have surgery?
So the next day I went in and I had a shunt placed to drain the fluid from my head. So I've
Okay.
got this metal thing that goes through my brain, and there's a tube that goes back down and then drains into my stomach or belly, abdomen, um,
Okay.
of the fluid. so I don't have buildup in my head. And then, so I had that, and then a couple days later went home while they planned the removal surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Met with my surgeons in between, and then this is all when COVID is really starting to become a thing where
Yes.
people are very concerned. And they actually ended up delaying my surgery a week because the hospital administration wanted to make sure that the doctors were going to be safe.
Yeah.
And they were going to have wear like these suits that they basically had their own. I don't know if you've seen it, but air is pumped into it and it's cleaned, and it's like a little pack that you wear on your waist that does it. Like it's not the full.
I think I've seen something like that in a movie. Was it Outbreak? Okay.
Yeah, it's not like the full biosafety level for containment suits that you have to be.
Okay.
But it's kind of like that. And the surgeons were just like, let's figure out something else here. So I ended up having to get a COVID test and all that.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And finally went in, had the surgery done. Well, the first surgery they did an embolization, so they went in and they cut off the blood supply to the tumor. Then the next day, they went in and they went through my nose for the surgery.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Wasn't expecting that one. I'm thinking like a big back behind your head, up along the side.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't get all of it that way. So they got me out of surgery, and then I sat in the hospital for a week. They were going to send me home, but my doctor and I were both like, I don't want to get exposed to anything. And, COVID. And so they were just like, let's sit in the hospital. And basically I sat in my room, and a couple times a day I'd go walk the halls. Otherwise, it was in my room. And I was okay with that.
Okay.
And then the following week, they went in behind my ear. So the first day they made the approach, and then the second day they went in and got most of the rest of it. There is a little tiny piece that was kind of around a nerve that they couldn't safely get. So they left it, and the plan is to monitor it, and if necessary, they will get it with radiation.
Okay.
Oh, and for those people who are curious, they did the pathology on the tumor. It's a grade 1 meningioma. So these are very slow-growing tumors. They're benign. And based on the size, it had probably been growing for 20 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, because I was curious. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, definitely something that didn't happen overnight.
Okay.
But, the brain just slowly adapts until it can't adapt anymore.
Oh, wow. How amazing. So, yes, and this is why I mentioned earlier how I love watching what you're doing on Strava, because you had, 2 surgeries? Was it 2? Or 3?
So I had 1 for the shunt placement, and then 4 for the tumor removal.
Okay.
And then I was in rehab, and while I was in rehab, my shunt had gotten clogged, and I developed an infection. So then they had to pull out the shunt and put in a external draining one. So I had a tube coming out of the back of my head for 10 days or so.
Yeah.
And then they put the internal draining one back in once I had cleared the infection. And then after they were going to send me back to rehab, and I was just like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
So I was at my brother's for 3 weeks, going through outpatient rehab, and yeah, people coming to the house and working with me and stuff. And, that was fine. And then after 3 weeks, I'm like, I want to go home.
Yes.
I want to go be at my house.
Yeah.
And, I had to convince myself that I could. And so I would help make meals. And so, like, the biggest thing was, like, working with sharp knives, like, making sure I'm not going to cut myself. And,
Okay.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
So that's kind of my question. So when you came out of surgery, what were you unable? What did you have to relearn to do?
Um,
Anything?
so, as a result of the last surgery to remove it, they aggravated some of my cranial nerves. And so my right eye is turned in,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have numbness on this side of my face. The first few days after surgery, I was on a liquid diet because I couldn't feel a lot of my mouth. And I had to get things in my mouth just right
Mm-hmm.
to feel comfortable enough to swallow. And so, yeah, like getting liquid down. And they did a barium test on me. So I had to swallow this really chalky stuff. And then they did, I think it's an x ray. So they can visualize how everything's working. And, everything from here down worked fine. It was just, feeling in the mouth
Okay.
that was causing the problem. And so, they worked with me. I got some more feeling back, and the speech pathologist, she brought in pudding one day. She goes, "Let's try it." Pudding. And
What
so
flavor?
chocolate.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so that was the best feeling ever, to be able to swallow, even though it was, mush,
Yeah.
actually swallow something.
Yes.
And then a few days later, I got a little more sensation, and then we tried, I think it was crackers. Like, just, got a lot of saliva going,
Yeah.
and, kind of made them mushy and got them down. And so then I graduated to mushy food. So, yeah, and I still have the numbness over there. I don't chew over there very much, just because I still don't have a lot of feeling, but compared to a month ago, I have a lot more feeling. So,
Nice. Well, good. Wow. Okay, so yeah, so now you guys kind of understand why I get so many, because you've started running again, right? You've started slowly. We kind of watched your progress go along, where you were able to do what you started off with, like a quarter mile, and you've been increasing
yeah,
that. And you just recently did what, 3, 4 miles, if I saw that correct?
Saturday I did 4 miles. I
Nice.
didn't run the whole time, but I ran the majority of it, so I can deal with that.
Yes, it's just exciting. It's exciting to be back from the outside looking in and just seeing the progress you're making. I think it's just really cool. I get excited for you. I'm like, sweet, look what you did.
Well, it was so funny because I talked to one of my surgeons back in August, and I knew the appointment was coming up, and I was like, okay, the night before this, I'm gonna walk 3 miles. And he asked me, so how you doing? How you getting around? I'm like, I walked 3 miles last night. I'm like, what? With or without a walker? Without. And he's just like, yes.
Nice.
So, um, there was a lady I read about in Colorado. She also had a meningioma,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the article was in Runner's World. Anyway, uh, after 11 months after she got hers removed, she was running a marathon.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I'm just like, yep, okay,
All
this
right.
can happen.
Yes, we got some goals coming up. Nice. Again, yes. So if you do need a crew for 50K, I am all there for you. That would be awesome. So awesome. Okay. Um, that's great. Anything else you know want to kind of chime in on, or anything else you want to bring up, basically?
um,
Oh, do you have a race, 5K, 10K, or anything idea
I
that you would like to do coming up?
I'm not signed up for anything yet because I need to get my race credits built back up. Uh,
Okay.
but I am volunteering at Javelina this weekend.
Ooh, Dave will be there too.
So if you're there on Sunday, stop by the main aid and say hi.
All right. Nice. All right. So awesome. Yeah, Dave is actually going to be you sweeping.
Oh,
So
cool.
he's going to be sweeping. So he'll be there early Sunday morning. Haven't
Yeah,
decided if I was going to come down or not because I got the dog, but we'll see.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think it's just amazing. I know we spoke a lot about kind of your background, stuff you've done, but that's the big reason I wanted you on was just the fact that you went through this tumor surgery, all these
yeah,
surgeries this year, and you're back on your feet and you're just pushing and you're trying to, getting your health back, and just
yeah,
trying to get out there and achieve those goals again and starting over. And I wouldn't say starting over, but you kind of are, and I think it's just cool to see the progress again.
yeah.
So
And I would like to say that, even though there is a lot of positivity and, pushing myself, there are those moments where it's like, the why me?
yeah,
Why can't I do the things that I used to? And, it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel those emotions, just not all the time.
yeah,
And, just be able to have something to pull you out when you feel that way, whatever it is, whether it's talking with people or going out and going for a walk or playing music and dancing around and just being silly, whatever it is for you.
yeah. And I can't imagine you're going through this through COVID, where everyone is supposed to stay apart from each other, and that support. How was your support system? Were you still able to feel that support or that you needed?
Yeah, I mean, we live in this wonderful technological age where, I can chat with you on a screen and see you, even though I'm not
Yes,
there. Phones are great too. Email works, and good old fashioned snail mail. So,
yes.
probably the highlight was getting fun cards like this from my cousin. It's
Oh,
a 3D pop out flowers, and I keep
oh,
it
that's
on my
cool.
table because it is just the coolest card ever.
Yes, that is cool looking. I like that. But you definitely make a good point about, when after we moved, we went from Washington to Colorado before we came down here. And we went from 300 feet to like 6 to 8,000 feet elevation. And I was struggling so much with my running, and I put on some weight. And so, of course, I wasn't as fast. And then with the elevation, and I know it's nothing major that I went through, but I was struggling with the same thing. Like, why can't I do what I used to be able to do? And it can get frustrating. And I just had to remind myself is, sometimes it's not always about what you used to do or what you want to do, but what you can do in the moment.
Right.
And just focusing on the positive of what you can do in the moment. And, you know, life, one thing I've learned as a therapist and working with people, life always changes. And I've learned that in life too. Nothing stays consistent. You just kind of have to ride through it and it's going to change again.
Yeah.
So when you're feeling down, when you're feeling kind of give yourself that moment to, I don't know if it's mourn or just kind of feel down about kind of what's going on, but know it's going to change and reshift your focus. So
Right.
nice. Awesome. All right. Well, I am so glad you joined me today. I've missed you. Every time we get
Yeah.
on the group thing with Aravipa, I'm always looking for Megan. I was like, where's Megan? Where's Megan?
Well, I'm glad this worked out.
Yes. And I've been waiting to have coffee with you, but I'm like, okay, COVID's still going on. I know
Yeah.
she's still healing. I'm like, can we meet? Maybe not. But then we moved up to Flag, so we're not down here as much. Um, but I would love to, if we can schedule meet up sometime in the future to have coffee sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I would love that. So
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.